We're often told that just buying a house is the secret to getting rich, right? It's a really common belief. Well, today, we're going to flip that idea on its head. We're going to explore why the truly wealthy don't just own property, they run it like a business. And the secret? It all comes down to one thing: cash flow. Okay, so here's the game plan for today. We'll kick things off by busting the great ownership myth. Then we're going to shift our mindset to thinking like a business and really understand the cash flow engine. After that, I'll give you a simple step-by-step framework, and we'll wrap it all up with some hard and fast rules every investor should live by. Let's dive in. All right, first up, the great ownership myth. This is a big one. It's this idea that just owning property, having your name on the deed, is some kind of automatic ticket to wealth. But honestly, that assumption can be a really, really dangerous trap. Now, check this out, because this gets right to the heart of it. Most people think, hey, if my house is worth more next year, I'm getting richer. They're basically just betting on appreciation. But savvy, wealthy investors, they're playing a totally different game. They're asking a much smarter question. Does this asset actually produce income? Does it put money in my pocket every single month? See the difference? That's not speculation, that's real investing. And that leads us right to the solution, the huge mindset shift you need to make. You've got to stop thinking like a homeowner and start thinking like a business owner. Every single property you look at is its own little business, and it needs to be treated that way. So the most important term you need to know in this business is positive cash flow. And you know what? It's actually super simple. Think of it like this. You collect the rent. Then you pay all the bills, the mortgage, the property taxes, insurance. You even set some cash aside for repairs. Whatever is left in your hand at the end of the month, that's your cash flow. That is your profit. That is the entire goal. And this right here is basically the P&L, the profit and loss statement for your property business. It's so straightforward. Step 1, income comes in, which is your rent. Step 2, costs go out, the loan, repairs, all that stuff. And step 3, what's left over? That's your net profit, your cash flow. Running these numbers is absolutely non-negotiable for any property you're considering. Okay, let's dig a little deeper into this whole idea of the cash flow engine, because this is how real, sustainable wealth is actually built. We're not talking about getting lucky in the market. We're talking about a predictable, wealth-building machine. So it all boils down to this one simple, incredibly powerful question you have to ask yourself. Does this property pay you every month, or do you pay it? I mean, really think about that. Is it an asset that's putting cash in your bank account, or is it a liability that you have to constantly feed with your own money? The answer tells you if you're building a business or just owning an expensive hobby. Let's look at a quick example of a healthy investment. So you bring in $2,000 in rent. Nice. After you pay the mortgage, taxes, insurance, and set aside a little for repairs, you're left with a positive $400. Boom. That property is now your employee. It's a small business that's paying you month in and month out. It's working for you. But what happens when the numbers don't work? Let's look at the flip side. Same $2,000 in rent, but maybe your mortgage rate is higher and the place just needs more work. All of a sudden, you're $100 in the hole every single month. Now you are feeding the property. You're just hoping and praying that its value goes up enough to break even someday. That, my friends, is not a business. That's a gamble. So how do we make sure we land in that positive cash flow camp and avoid the negative one? Well, it's not about luck. It's not about having a gut feeling about a neighborhood. It's about having a system, a disciplined framework that you follow every single time. And here it is, a simple 5-step process. You start with the big picture, selecting the right market. Then you narrow it down to the type of property. Then comes the most important part. You run the cash flow numbers. After that, you make a smart decision about leverage. And finally, you plan your exit strategy before you even buy the place. It's your roadmap. Now, step 1 is absolutely critical. You have to ignore the hype about the next hot market. Instead, you look for the boring, solid fundamentals. Are there good jobs being created? Are people moving into the area? Is the city investing in itself? Because that is what creates real sustainable demand for rentals. And that demand is the fuel for your whole business. Okay, let's talk about leverage. That's just a fancy word for using a loan. And there's a really simple formula to know if it's a good idea. It's called the spread. You just take your rental yield, which is basically the property's annual income as a percentage, and you subtract your cost of debt, which is your interest rate. This one little calculation tells you if debt is helping you or hurting you.
It's simple. If that spread is a positive number, you are good to go. It means your property is earning a higher rate of return than your loan is costing you. In that case, leverage is like pouring fuel on the fire in a good way. It's amplifying your profits. That's what we call smart debt. But if that spread is negative, whoa, that's a huge red flag. It means your loan is actually costing you more than the property is earning. Leverage is no longer your friend. It's a boat anchor dragging your investment to the bottom. It just completely destroys your cash flow. And that is dangerous debt. All right, let's bring all this home. I want to boil everything down to a few simple, actionable rules. Think of this as your non-negotiable checklist for building wealth the right way. Rule number 1, and it's the most important one, the cash flow rule. If the rent you expect to collect doesn't cover every single cost, you don't buy, period. If the numbers don't work on paper, they sure as heck aren't going to work in real life. You just walk away. No exceptions. Next up, the leverage rule. This is just putting that simple formula into practice. You only borrow money if the property's rental yield is higher than your loan's interest rate. If it's not, then all you're doing is paying the bank for the privilege of taking on more risk. That is a losing game. And finally, this is a crucial one, the risk rule. Look, stuff happens. A tenant moves out, a water heater breaks. It's just part of the deal. That's why you absolutely must have a cash safety net, at least 6 months of total expenses saved up before you even think about buying an investment property. That's not scared money, it's smart money. It's what keeps you in the game when things get tough. So let's wrap it all up with this one big idea. True wealth in real estate, it isn't about the pride of ownership. It's about patiently, systematically building a portfolio of small, rental income businesses. Businesses that survive the ups and downs of the market and consistently pay you more than they cost. Think like a business owner. Focus on that cash flow, and the wealth will follow.